I'm struggling with technology tonight, so I apologize. I'm a little late going live here. If you're just joining me for the first time, welcome. And for those of you that join me regularly, welcome back. I am Mary from Mary's Heirloom Seeds, and I try to go live here every Thursday at 5 p.m. Central. So I'm going to try and move the camera around real quick. Nope, not working. So unfortunately, YouTube has decided that I cannot go live sideways today. So just give me a second here, and I'll try and. Oop. Sorry about that. All right. So you get to see me instead of my beautiful garden today, and I will show you a little bit at a little later time. If you are just joining me and you haven't said hey, say hey. I'm not sure if I can see comments today. I'm trying to see comments. So if you haven't commented, comment below so I can see what you're doing and see what you're up to. All right. So today's topic, I apologize for the weird YouTube video right now. Hey Caitlin, hey Moonblade, and thanks for joining me. So the screen, it won't let me change it to horizontal today, so I'll go ahead and show you some of my garden in just a second. So today's topic is growing herbs and grow bags. So it's kind of funny. Maybe you can see a little bit. I'll show you a little bit here. I've got one grow bag, and I've got a whole bunch of grow bags there. Hey, Agape Field, thanks for joining me. You finally made it. So I started a medicinal herb garden this weekend, another medicinal herb garden in grow bags. And so it was kind of funny. I posted on my Facebook page, hey Susan, thanks for joining us. I posted on my Facebook page, if you could only choose 5 herbs to grow, which would they be? And the comments ranged from, hey Amber, thanks for joining us. The comments ranged from serious to like all the things to what mean person would only let me grow 5. So it was a really interesting post to see what people were interested in. And then I thought it was so great that I posted it to the community section here at Mary's Heirloom Seeds on YouTube. Hey, Kelly, thanks for joining us. So if you haven't already, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Usually I go horizontal so you can see a little more of my garden about what's going on here. But today YouTube is wonky and it will not let me go. Ooh, bumblebee. It won't let me go sideways so that I can see most of the comments. So I apologize if I miss one of your comments. Please, if I miss your comments, I'm not doing it on purpose. Just send me an email. My email is mary@marysheirloomseeds.com. In the description section of this video, you'll find a link to a lot of great information. You're going to find my comprehensive planting guide. You'll also find a link to the grow bags that I'm going to discuss, the herb seeds I'm going to discuss, and all sorts of awesome information. So I have been sharing more herb growing information on my social media pages lately, and then I posted as well in an email today. The reason being is I started a pumpkin patch. My recent live chat was on a Saturday, and we started a pumpkin patch, and I shared some information about different, companion planting and things like that for your pumpkin patch. So herbs was part of that because that is a huge part of my companion planting, and that's part adding herbs and things like that to the garden, and also using it as a better use of the space. So I'm not just growing squash or pumpkins in a certain area. I'm growing a couple of herbs as well. Hey Krista, thanks for joining us. I'm drinking out of my brand new Mostly Feral Gardeners cup today. Kind of excited. Brand new cup. Finally grabbed one out of the box and washed it off so I could use it. So I have been promising more herb related information. So I wanted to share a couple of tips and information with you today. I've been getting a lot of questions and things like that about growing herbs, and is it too late to grow herbs, and is it too late to plant certain things? So there are certain varieties that require cold stratification in order to have optimal germination. And by optimal germination, it's because those specific varieties do best when they go through the natural cycle of cold or really cold. Hey Christine, thanks for joining us. So that's called cold stratification. Now you can cold stratify yourself in the refrigerator. But say it's June 6th and you're like, I really want to plant some different herbs that maybe require cold stratification. And those are going to be like lemon bee balm, all the different bee balms, coneflower, which is also echinacea, lavender, rosemary. We have a list of varieties that grow best when they are cold stratified. So you can actually do that in the refrigerator, which is pretty cool. I've done multiple videos, articles, posts, and things like that about cold stratification, so I won't get too into detail about that. But it's literally, you can do it in your refrigerator, mimicking the natural cycle and just shorten it. Columbine, I might be one as well. It's a lot of the ones that are perennials, that like lupine, that they'll drop the seeds and then they go through a cold phase. Texas bluebonnet, it's a lupine, but Texas bluebonnet is a specific lupine. So those varieties need cold stratification. But there's a couple of really easy ones that you can grow from seed that are really quick. Basil, cilantro. Don't plant cilantro right now. It's too hot. It's supposed to be 90 degrees all this week. We finally passed through the major parts of the storms. We had 2 major tornado warnings. We had a tornado touchdown not too far from us. A line from one of my favorite movies, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. It was crazy here. We had 10 inches of rain in like 3 days. So it's been crazy here. But it's 90 degrees. So now is not the time to plant things like cilantro. You can plant things like basil. So, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Part of the reason I started a new medicinal herb garden was because if you see behind me, I am in the shade. This is the new, here, let's see, I'll spin you around here, you can see some of the others. This is the new raised bed garden that I built recently, and this is also the garden space that I went live in for the, sorry, now you're too close. This is the same garden I went live in when I did the partial shade and full sun garden. So the front of this garden is full sun. So I've got onions and I've got strawberries here. Let me turn around and you can see. I've got onions and strawberries. And so those can be full sun for most of the day. And then my herb garden is going to be partial shade in the heat of the day. So that's really important. I planted a ton of stuff. I planted lovage, I planted toothache plant, I planted chamomile, yarrow after I cold stratified, epazote, mountain mint, a ton of stuff. Mexican tarragon, regular tarragon, thyme, sweet basil, cardinal basil. So all of these can do really well in semi shade, because it's full sun at around 7 o'clock or so, and then it doesn't get shaded here until 2 o'clock. So that's when the sun is starting to bake it at that point. So it's a great time to put these in a semi-shady area in the heat. So the great thing about grow bags, part of the reason I'm doing this whole medicinal garden in grow bags, is because they're mobile. If I put these back here and I was like, okay, this plant isn't thriving here because it needs full sun all day, like my oregano, then I can pull this grow bag, I can pick it up by the handles, and I can move it to the front of the garden where it gets more sun. Or maybe this was a full sun garden and I said, well, this is getting fried, my basil is getting fried, I want it to be in partial sun, so I'm going to put it in afternoon shade in this part of the garden. So that's one really, somebody asked me, well, why would you plant in containers versus grow bags? Honestly, I ran out of containers, and I actually told my husband, Doc, I said, I really need to go buy some more containers. And he looked at me like I had 3 heads, and he goes, don't you have a bunch of grow bags? And I'm like, oh, no, of course I do. So of course I busted out a bunch of grow bags and I packaged and I opened them all up. But that was the reason for the question about the 5, because I started opening up the packs and I'm like, well, there's 5 per pack. Well, what would I choose if I could only do 5? What would you choose if you could only do 5? So for those of you watching me, maybe you already answered my question, but if you didn't already answer my question, what 5 herbs would you choose? If you had a grow bag and you had 5 grow bags, what would you put in it? So lavender, like I said, cold stratification, super important. Lemongrass is another one I put in here. I almost forgot about that. Most of these herbs are going to germinate in about 7 to 15 days, 7 to 14 days. Rosemary is notorious for being terrible as far as germination goes. They can be fantastic seeds, but they're going to take forever to germinate, and the germination is kind of spotty. Same with lavender. It's just the way it is. It's not, anything too earth-shattering. It's just the way it is. The easiest ones to grow are going to be basil, thyme, toothache plant I mentioned earlier. I love that. They're little teeny seedlings right now in my medicinal herb garden here. And then yarrow, again, is one that needs to be cold stratified, and it is a perennial, so it can grow year after year, which I really like about that. For those of you just joining me, by the way, welcome. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and ask your questions. Like I mentioned, I usually go where you can see the backside of my garden, but YouTube won't let me change the camera, which is kind of frustrating. So I'm trying to see everybody and see that you're here. Welcome. So another new addition to Mary's Heirloom Seeds on our blog is planting parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme seeds. Of course, if you haven't heard the song Scarborough Fair from Simon and Garfunkel, I grew up listening to older music, so it's an awesome seed combo pack where you get seeds and starter pods, so you can grow them in those. And so I thought, well, I'll add a new tutorial so that you have information on growing just those varieties. So that's a super easy place to start. I will be adding all of these to my comprehensive planting guide. If you look in the description section, you'll see it's updated, and that's where it is. So all these new articles are going to be posted down there as well. And again, if you have questions, you can always send me an email, or you can always comment. You can always send me a message, and I'll try to answer your questions. And if I can't answer it right away, just have a little patience. Sometimes it takes me a little longer to get back to you. Some of the flowers are also herbs, like borage, calendula. That's another one I planted back here. So behind me, I have 18 5-gallon grow bags and one 10-gallon grow bag. And in the 10-gallon, you can see right here, that is a Czech bush tomato. And then I planted sweet basil, Italian sweet basil, in that container. So the cool thing about the grow bags, whether it's an herb or whether it's a vegetable, is you can make the best use of the space. So generally, I recommend tomatoes, for example, with a 10-gallon or more. So 10-gallon or 15-gallon for your tomatoes. So you can utilize that space, again, because they need more room for their roots to grow. But they don't need the whole thing. Things like basil and cilantro have shorter roots, so that's a really good one to do to combine those. I wouldn't do borage and tomato in the same grow bag because borage gets massive. I wouldn't do African crackerjack marigold with your tomato, but you could do French marigold because French marigold is a smaller variety. I actually interplanted French marigold. I'm looking here at some of the other tomatoes that I already have that are producing, like Matt's Wild Cherry. I planted marigold right in the container, and it's super easy. Krista says, is it too late to grow peppers in a grow bag? You finally moved. I would say no. Krista, I know where you live. You have a long growing season. I would recommend trying to plant peppers ASAP if you haven't already. That's another one. I have 2 grow bags that are empty so far, and those are I'm gonna transplant some peppers in those this weekend as well. Peppers are a fantastic option for grow bags. Now, since today's topic is herbs and grow bags, there are some issues that some people have said that they've had with grow bags. So number one is if you are growing something that spreads and you're wanting to contain it, a grow bag may not be the option, may not be the best option, because things like catnip and oregano and spearmint, those things are prolific. They like to spread out everywhere, and their roots really go crazy. So the fabric grow bags will not always contain those varieties. So use caution with things like that. Now, the other issue that some people have said is that they dry out too fast. I'm drying out too fast out here. It's 90 degrees and I'm sweating. um, so one thing I will say is this area behind me is very wet. The ground here is soggy. Where I'm sitting right now on my bucket, there is standing water because we've had so much rain. So I'm not worried about these grow bags drying out super fast. If you are using grow bags in full sun and it's hot, I recommend definitely keeping an eye on the moisture level. And what you can do is, if it dries out too much, you can take a small tray. Hey, Christian, you can actually, super cheap, get a small kitty litter tray, or just a small, one that you can put, yep, Agape Field says a water dish. What I use is okay, so we have cats. Most of you know we have cats. And we've experimented with different sizes of kitty litter trays, and some just never got used. And so that for me has been the best thing to use. I'll bring the tray out here, I'll fill it with water, and I'll sit my 5-gallon container in it. I'll let the bag soak up some of that water, and then I'll move it out and I'll put another one in. I don't leave it sitting in a tray the whole time, because doing that is a surefire way to just rot your roots. So you're not going to be sitting that bag in water for a long time. It's just enough so that that bag can soak up some of that moisture, so that it's not so dry, so that your roots really get a good soaking. In a raised bed or in ground, mosquitoes are trying to get me. In a raised bed or in ground, those roots are always going to have some kind of moisture. So you want to make sure in your grow bag that you give your roots moisture. And if they're not getting wet enough, use a tray. It's super easy. Or if you have an area that gets too wet, you can just put your grow bag there if it's close enough, and then pull it back out and put another one in there. So that's another option for you as well. As a general rule, when you're starting seeds, this information is available in our seed starting basics, but just in case you didn't know, as a general rule, seed planting is going to be 2 to 3 times the diameter of the actual seed. But there's certain varieties that are so teeny tiny, and they really thrive when they don't get planted deep. And those are going to be something like yarrow and chamomile. I literally just sprinkle those seeds over the top of these grow bags, and they're already germinating. And I did this on Sunday, I believe, on some of these. The first round was on Sunday, and then I already have germination now. And this is after a massive amount of rain. And I honestly didn't think anything would germinate quite yet because it's been so wet. Minnie says, how long would you get it to sit in a tray of water? I wouldn't say more than an hour. Really 10 minutes is all you really need. But sometimes we get busy. So sometimes we put a bucket in and we forget about it, or a bag and we forget about it. I wouldn't say more than an hour, but 15 minutes should be just fine. Jenny Eaton says, my garden was a disaster last year. However, this year with your helpful information, with our helpful information, it's thriving. I'm so happy to hear that. Very cool. I'm so glad you're having a good year in the garden. Every year is a new year to experience something new in the garden. So every year I try to find something new to grow, or a new way to grow. I've used grow bags in the past, but not to this extent. I currently have a couple of pear trees in grow bags because I just didn't have the space, and we have all clay soil here. So until I cleared this whole garden bed, this whole garden area, I didn't have a place to put them. Now that I have this area and the fence has been removed, I can clear the space in front of my garden, and I can dig some holes and I can put them in there, and they'll thrive now that I have the space and the attention. Because this whole area here where our garden was, I've got people riding down the road, and not riding, literally riding on their horses. So let me see this real quick. You can see the garden space there. A bed that hasn't been filled yet. And there's my grow bags. Okay, so if you're just joining me, YouTube didn't let me do the going horizontal today, so I'm having to go vertical. So now you get to see all of me instead of all of my garden. And today's topic is growing herbs and grow bags. So if you want more information on growing herbs, sign up for my email. I will be sending out a more in detailed list of what to grow and how to grow it. You can also go to marysheirloomseeds.com and you can go to Mary's blog and you can click growing herbs, and there's going to be a giant list of different herbs that you can grow. Or you can always send me an email, or you can use the search option at Mary's Heirloom Seeds and you can type in growing thyme or growing rosemary, and you'll find an article that I've written or information that I've shared about growing those particular varieties. Sage is another one I planted in my garden, and I'll tell you this much. Sage is a perennial, and it does better when you cold stratify the seeds, but sometimes you can still get it to germinate so without it. So I've done it both ways. I prefer to cold stratify, but I have had success every now and then when I forget to cold stratify and I just go, okay, I'm ready to just throw some plants out there. So that's some options for you as well. Now, if you have any questions on grow bags, if you have any questions on growing herbs, just let me know. My email is mary@marysheirloomseeds.com. I do try to go live here every Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Time. Unfortunately, today I have a little bit of technical difficulties with YouTube, so I haven't been able to get all the information up to you guys. If you haven't already, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Now, that being said, we have a new grow bag starter kit that was announced this morning in an email. In the description section of this video, you'll also find a link to it. It is a 5-gallon grow bag. It is seeds, of course, and it is a pack of mountain flower root boost, and that's what I use in my grow bags. I use for all of my soil mixes. I use compost, I use perlite, I use coconut coir, and I use mountain flower root boost. Sean Cummings says, why is herb used for besides food? Oh, there's a lot of great reasons to use herbs. There are medicinal herbs, there are culinary herbs, and then there are some that are culinary herbs that are also medicinal. So things like toothache plant is actually used for a toothache. You can actually chew on the leaves and chew on the actual flowers. It looks like a little eyeball, and it can relieve toothache pain. You've got basil, Thai holy basil in particular. Sorry, I'm getting bit by mosquitoes. Thai holy basil in particular has more reported health benefits than some of the others, and it's good for things like inflammation. There's even garlic is an herb. Cayenne can be considered an herb because the capsaicin is high in vitamin A and vitamin C. We use cayenne tincture, so as medicinal. There's feverfew. Some people use that for migraines. So there's a lot of medicinal benefits to some of the regular herbs you might use. Chamomile. Is paprika an herb? Sure, it could be. It might be considered a spice versus an herb. So something to consider. Krista says, thank you, Mary. You always provide great resources. So if you go to marysheirloomseeds.com or in the description section of this video, you'll find a link to all of the herbs, and you'll see everything from anise hyssop to yarrow, yerba santa, and there's a lot of great information. You've got white sage. White sage is what is used for the smudge sticks, but there's only one edible herb, and that's or edible sage, and that's the regular garden sage we use, sage Salvia officinalis. So that's the one that's actually edible compared to clary sage, which is sometimes used as essential herb or essential oil. So there's a lot of great information. You can find that on my website as well. Alrighty, everybody, I am Mary, and I'm going to sign off. It is hot out here, and I have put in a full day's work, so I'm going to go ahead and take a break tonight and enjoy the rest of my evening. I hope you do as well. If you have any questions, my email is mary@marysheirloomseeds.com. Also, I just added a couple of discount codes. Since you watched all the way through the video, you can use discount code THANKYOU24. It's all caps and there's no spaces. Thank you the number 2 and the number 4, and that'll save you 10% off your entire order on your next order at marysheirloomseeds.com. Alrighty, everybody, I'm Mary from Mary's Heirloom Seeds signing off, and happy planting.